Chaos on the streets of Toronto. A rental van turned into a murder weapon. This new surveillance video shows it barreling down the sidewalk.
I just saw the guy go flying and I heard the bang, and the van just went right into him, plowed right into him.
The van plowing through pedestrians on a busy street during lunchtime, killing at least 10, injuring 15 others, some now fighting for their lives.
Alec Minassian was born into a comfortable life, tucked away in the suburbs of Toronto, Canada. Growing up, Alec required extra care and assistance. His classmates would often note how Alec had physical tics, random bursts of anger during lessons, and was viewed as the awkward boy. It was said that Alec would spit on himself, tap his feet, hug himself, and many other things. Due to Alec being sensitive and easily bothered, this made him a target for bullying. After graduating high school, Alec felt compelled to follow in his parents' footsteps and acquire a degree in information technology. Things seemed to be going well for Alec until, due to undisclosed reasons, he was fired from an assistant's job. Then, during a training period, Alec was not called back for a full-time position. Things began to fray apart for Alec until one day he fell apart.
My understanding is, earlier today, there was an incident, and you ultimately got arrested by a police officer. Do you remember that?
I do remember getting arrested.
Okay. Do you remember it was a uniformed police officer who arrested you? So in other words, he was a police officer in a uniform?
Yes, I remember he had a uniform.
Yeah, okay. And I know there was a bit of an altercation. We'll get into that. But basically, I just want to kind of cover off a few points before we get started. My understanding is that that incident, the time that you got arrested, you were on or near the area of Yonge Street earlier today. Is that right? And a police officer told you that you were going to be placed under arrest. And he placed you under arrest. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Okay. Do you remember what he arrested you for?
I believe I may have been arrested for something similar to murder.
Okay. I believe it was originally you were arrested for attempted murder, and subsequent to that, the officer placed you in handcuffs. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then he placed you into the back of his car. Correct.
Correct.
And then you were transported, or you were delivered here in a police car to 32 Division.
Correct.
Do you remember that? And following that, you were taken into the building, and you spoke to, I believe it was a gentleman, and he's known as a staff sergeant. He would have had 3 stripes on his shoulder with a crown. He would have asked you questions about your medical history, whether or not you were suicidal, whether or not you understood why you were being placed under arrest.
I remember that.
Okay. When you were placed under arrest, did the officer read anything to you?
I remember being read the signs on the left-hand wall stating my rights.
Okay. So you would have been read either at the time you were arrested, or certainly when you got into the police station, you were provided your rights to counsel. Is that right? So it would have been something like this. You're going to be arrested for attempted murder. It's my duty to inform you that you have the right to retain instruct counsel without delay. You have the right to telephone any lawyer you wish. You also have the right to...
Now I'm starting to come back. Yeah, I remember.
Okay, let me just finish here, because it's important to understand this. You have the right to telephone any lawyer you wish. You also have the right to free advice from a legal aid lawyer. If you're charged with an offense, you may apply to the Ontario Legal Aid Plan for assistance. 1-800-265-0451 is a toll-free number that will put you in contact with a legal aid duty counsel lawyer for free legal advice right now. Do you remember that?
Yeah, now I remember that.
Do you remember the officer reading you that?
To be honest, I encountered various police officers. I don't remember which one read me that.
On April 23, 2018, Alec Minassian committed an act of domestic terrorism that killed 11 and injured 15 people. This incident was the deadliest vehicle ramming attack in Canadian history. At 1:25 p.m, the first 911 call was received, reporting that a Chevrolet Express van was smashing into pedestrians. The van was a rental from Ryder and was seen driving southbound on the west side sidewalk on Yonge Street. For 16 blocks, Minassian drove on the sidewalks and roadway, striking pedestrians.
How much sleep did you have last night?
About 8 hours.
About 8 hours. And how did you sleep?
I slept well.
You slept well. And where did you sleep? Was it your home?
I do not wish to answer that.
Okay, all right. Nevertheless, you slept well. Okay. I want to ask you something, Alec, and this is important. Are you on any kind of medication right now?
No.
Okay, so do you take any, what I mean by medication, do you take anything prescribed for any physical injuries or ailments of any type?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. What about medication for psychological issues?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. Has a doctor, have you seen a doctor recently with respect to any medical issues that I should be concerned about?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. What about psychological issues?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. Alec, can I ask you this? Because it's important. And I'm saying this because I think I know the answer. But am I wrong to understand that in high school you were identified as someone with special needs?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. But you did go to Thornley Secondary, didn't you?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And you graduated from Thornley, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then following that, my understanding is you went to Seneca.
Correct.
And you were, you're just finishing up, if I'm not mistaken. You're just finishing up your course.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the Center for Development of Open Technology, CDOT.
No, it's Seneca at York.
Yeah, I realize that, but the program you're taking, isn't it called Center for...
no, that was actually something else.
Oh, okay, all right. What are you taking at Seneca?
Bachelor of Software Development program.
Oh, so you're taking a degree?
Yes.
After requesting to speak with legal aid, Manassian heeds the advice given to him. Don't answer any questions you don't want to answer. This makes it incredibly difficult for the detective to receive answers to his questions, but Manassian is well within his rights to refuse.
My understanding is your Facebook account is, your activity on Facebook is kind of sporadic. Sometimes you're on and then you go off and then you go back on and you close down your account and then you open it back up. Why is that?
I don't wish to answer that.
Am I right to assume that you've closed your Facebook account down in the past?
I may have done it once.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. All right. When did you close it down?
Did you say when or why?
No, when?
I don't remember. It was quite a while ago.
Oh, okay. And how long was it closed down for?
I would say at least a year.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then, am I right to assume that you just recently opened it back up again?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And when did you open it back up?
I think about a month or two ago.
About a month or two ago. Okay. And how many friends do you have on Facebook?
I don't remember the exact count.
Okay. Are you active on Facebook?
My rate of sign-in is inconsistent. Sometimes I might sign in for a couple of days, but then might not sign in again for another week or so.
Oh, okay. Is there a reason for that?
I just don't have a specific pattern when deciding to use Facebook.
Prior to the Toronto van incident, Alec had graduated from his college program. He posted a not-so-warm farewell to his classmates. Many of Alec's classmates grew worried and reached out to him, but the messages fell to deaf ears. This Facebook post, as well as many others, raised several red flags for friends, family, and investigators.
Am I to understand that you've had some military experience in the past?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Was it in Canada? I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yeah. And my dad was in the military. My dad was actually in the Navy. He joined when he was 17 years old. And in fact, he wasn't 18, so he actually had to have his parents sign off to give him permission to join the Navy. But so in the military, we have the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army. Which one were you part of?
Army.
In the Army, okay. All right. And where did you join? Here in Toronto?
Yes.
Oh, really? And what made you decide to do that?
I wanted to try something new. I wanted to see what it was like to join infantry.
Really? Really? Have you thought about pursuing the military as a career?
I had thought of it at the time that I had joined.
Right. Okay. And were you thinking about doing like enlisting, or were you thinking about being an officer and going through the officer cadet program, or what?
I had enlisted.
You enlisted. Oh, I see. So it was in the Army. And what particular, like, were you? What particular? I know there's a number of different. Is it professions or a number of different
trades?
Trades. Yes. So what particular?
I
trade
was
were you?
infantry.
Oh, infantry. So you'd be, if called to task, you'd be the fellow on the front line,
Yes.
charging to the enemy and
Yes.
just getting your hands dirty at the
Yeah.
pointy end of the stick. Okay, is that is it?
Yeah, as per the trade description.
Oh, okay, right on. What? So specifically, what? So within the infantry, did you have a particular skill that you wanted to develop, or was it just?
I was interested in learning how to use weapons.
Beautiful, okay.
Specifically, large guns,
So large guns is in what? Like.
such as assault rifles.
Oh, okay. So you're not talking about howitzers and cannons, right? You're talking about like.
Yeah, because those you can actually hold in your hand.
Right. So what type of weapons would the military, the Canadian military, be training their members in? Because you know what, I play a lot of Call of Duty, right? Have you ever played Call of Duty?
Unfortunately, that game isn't realistic. However, I never made it far enough in my basic training to use guns, so I don't know what type of guns the military uses.
Alec told the detective that while he doesn't like how unrealistic Call of Duty is, he enjoys playing violent video games. He told the detective that it allows him to release all of his urges.
My understanding is you're living at home. You don't live on your own. Am I right?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. But you have a good relationship with your mom and dad.
Yes.
Yeah. And has your relationship always been good with your mom and dad?
Yes.
Okay. And have they been supportive and loving throughout your life?
Yes.
And were there any difficulties in your life growing up with your mom and dad?
No.
No. What about with school? Were there difficulties with school growing up?
No.
No. And so when I talk about that, I'm talking about like the school curriculum. Going to school, learning, and completing your assignments and things like that. Were there any issues?
No.
Okay. What about the students?
No. I never had any issues.
Never had any issue with any of the students or anything like that? No. And I say this because sometimes these things are important. How were you treated by the other students?
I was treated well.
You treated well. Okay. Did you have any difficulties with any particular group of students?
No.
No. What about difficulties with girls in particular?
No.
No difficulties with girls at all?
No.
No, not at all. How do you feel about girls in general?
I'm attracted to them.
Oh, you are? Okay. So you're heterosexual?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that? Okay, that's important. Have you ever had a relationship with a female?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay, all right. In terms of females, I mean females and women, because you're 25, you're a young man, right? We'll call them women. In terms of your feelings towards women in general, how would you describe that?
I would say that sometimes I am a bit upset that they choose to date obnoxious men instead of gentlemen.
Yeah. So I have I got involved in this situation. I'll tell you about it later. But so my understanding is you have some problems with women who date obnoxious men. Right?
Yes.
And these guys, I'm thinking you're talking about the fellows who are loud, arrogant, generally outgoing and popular with girls.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And you have a problem with the women that date these fellas?
Yes.
Why is it that you have a problem with the women?
Because I feel that it's illogical to be dating such men when they could be dating gentlemen instead.
Right. That makes sense.
While Manassian's attack on Yonge Street was not targeted at women specifically, investigators often question a criminal's personal life, such as relationships, to find out if something specific sparked the aggressive attack.
So how long have you had this this feeling towards women who are attracted to, this particular type of guy?
Ever since I started college.
Ever since you started college? Okay. Was it something that occurred as a result of a single incident? Like, was there one particular moment in your life where it sort of struck home this was a problem, or was it just
on Halloween of 2013, I was attending a house party, and I walked in and attempted to socialize with some girls. However, they all laughed at me and held the arms of the big guys instead.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of rude. And how did that make you feel?
I felt very angry that they would, because I considered myself a supreme gentleman. I was angry that they would give their love and affection to obnoxious brutes.
Really. And so it was at that particular moment, and that was sort of the defining moment that made you think that, this is wrong, and these people are are unfairly treating you in the way that they were.
Yes.
Yeah.
Manassian began using 4chan boards in 2014. He told the detective about the boards he frequented so he could chat with other similar-minded people, such as r/B, the random board, r/Poll, where talk of political incorrectness takes place, and r/9K, where people pretend to be robots posting on the board. He complained about how the conversations he wanted to have were often deleted by moderators of the chat boards.
What's the general the topic within these message boards?
Well, on B, or random, the general topic is random. It's literally any random topic. On R9K, they call us space robots.
Okay.
The topic is usually frustrations at an inability to lose one's virginity, specifically for young males.
Okay.
Poll, which is politically incorrect, is the general topic is basically political discussions with an alt-right bias.
Political discussions with an alt-right, so you're ultra-conservative. Or you're
Yes.
like in the American definition, you'd be ultra Republican.
Yes.
Okay, so what would your political views be in the alt-right message board?
I actually don't have any political views. The only reason I have talked with them was just because I enjoyed their style of conversation.
Okay, and what was the style of conversation?
It was very blunt and honest.
When did you first, sorry, you mentioned this and I forgot, when did you first go on to 4chan?
2014.
2014, and specifically when in 2014?
May 23, 2014.
And how were you able to remember that?
Because I remember that was a very significant day.
Okay, what was that?
That was when Elliot Rodger decided to essentially commit an uprising, a beta uprising, if you will,
right,
against the Chads and the Stacys.
Okay, and that was in the United States?
Yes.
And so when you talk about...
Well, because incels don't believe in borders.
Right, okay.
So locations are irrelevant to us. It's unknown when Manassian began to follow the ideologies of incels, but in 2014, Alec befriended a man named Elliot Rodger. The two began talking on an incel subreddit called r/ForeverAlone and found out that they actually had a lot in common. Elliot and Alec never saw each other in person, but their online relationship would come to last until May the 20th, 2014. Incels are known as an online subculture of people, mostly men, who define themselves as people who are unable to find a romantic or sexual relationship, despite having the desire for one. They are often perceived as angry and frustrated. On the day of May 20th, Elliot reached out to Alec telling him that he needed to go and that he was on a very important mission, one that he may not make it back alive from. 4 days later, the Isle of Easter massacre happened. On the 23rd of May, Elliot posted a 141-page manifesto regarding his views on people and his sexless life before tragically killing 6 others. Elliot's actions had a dark and terrifying consequence online. On several incel forums, Elliot was viewed as a hero, the king of incels, and the supreme gentleman. Many others followed in pursuit of Elliot's actions in the Beta Uprising, such as Chris Harper Mercer, who committed the Umpqua Community College shooting, and ultimately Alec Manassian would follow as well. On the day of the Toronto van attack, the incel ideologies can be found on Manassian's final Facebook post.
Explain to me this movement. What's this movement about?
It's basically a movement of angry incels, such as myself, who are unable to get laid. Therefore, we want to overthrow the Chads, which would force the Stacys to be forced to reproduce with the incels.
Right. Okay. And when you say incels,
involuntary celibate.
Celibate. So that's just a short form for fellas who
can't get laid.
Can't have sex. Right. Okay. And what happened in the Elliot Rogers uprising? What did he do?
I know he used a gun as well as a vehicle to convert the life status of certain individuals to death status.
Right.
Only to carry the message that incels can't be oppressed.
Right. So it was an act of rebellion.
Yes.
It was out of frustration and anger.
You could call it an incel rebellion.
Incel rebellion, exactly. Right. Yeah. Okay. And how many lives were converted from living to dead?
6.
6 in total. Okay. And he used a vehicle in that as well? As part of the process of converting these lives?
Yes.
Manassian tells the detective that he and the other self-proclaimed incels were plotting a series of timed strikes to induce panic in what they referred to as the normies. The term normie is considered to refer to people who are normal compared to the unfair standards of society. They considered the Chads and Stacys to be above the normies in their social construct. In order to level the playing field, the incels planned these attacks to murder the Chads and Stacys so that they would come out on top.
Who would the targets for this uprising be?
All of the alpha males.
All the alpha males. So the Chads.
Yes.
So those are the people that you want to kill?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And who else?
Any of the Stacys who do not wish to give their love and affection to the incels.
So they're a target as well.
Yes.
To be killed.
Yes.
Okay. And what about the normies? Normies.
Yes, we don't necessarily wish to kill the normies, but we do wish to subjugate them in order to make them understand that that our type is the more superior one.
Right. So when you say subjugate, what do you mean by that?
Meaning either imprison them or put them in a lower position in society.
Okay.
So that they acknowledge the incels or the Pepe the Frog types as the more superior ones.
So you're saying things that I'm not familiar with.
Sorry.
What's a Pepe the
but he's a mascot on 4chan.
He's a mascot?
Yes.
Oh, mascot on 4chan.
Yes.
And
I was using a metaphor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's actually worshipped quite frequently.
Oh, okay.
Manassian explains that other members of the incel community on Reddit were encouraging Elliot to begin his rebellion. It's common on incel messaging boards for other incels to encourage changing the life status of the Chads and Stacys, especially when the original poster is speaking lowly on themselves or considering suicide. Manassian felt proud of Elliot for his acts of bravery, making him feel radicalized. He felt that it was time to take action instead of sitting on the sidelines and festering in his own sadness.
So what takes place next? As part of this growing radicalization?
To be honest, the planning didn't occur until about a month ago. Most of it was actually just thinking
Okay.
and daydreaming.
Okay, all right. So the thinking and daydreaming, when did that start?
That started about a month after the rebellion in May of 2014.
Okay, so
So June I started thinking about this stuff.
and then that continued right up till about a month ago?
Yes, which is when I booked the van with the rider in
Okay.
order to use as a tool for rebellion.
Okay, all right. So take me through that process. What was going through your mind, and what were you thinking when you were doing all of this? What was going on?
I was thinking that it was a time that I stood up to the Chads and Stacys.
Okay. And then so what happened? Tell me what takes place.
So I booked the van,
Yep.
and then I just simply wait until today,
Yep.
and then I go rent the van, and then I drive it, take it downtown to Toronto,
Okay.
and I just start using it as a weapon.
Okay. All right. And so when you say that, what do you mean by that?
Meaning the vehicle collided with several pedestrians, some of who are no longer alive as a result.
Right. Okay. Okay. And so that's a lot of information.
Manassian chose the van because it was the perfect weapon size. It wasn't so large he couldn't maneuver it, but it was large enough that he could inflict severe damage. Manassian made his way to the northern tip of Yonge Street, a highly active street in downtown Toronto. He mounted the curb just past Finch Avenue and began plowing through pedestrians walking along the sidewalks. The van was seen on several surveillance cameras rampaging through the streets and sidewalks. At 1:29 p.m., a string of emergency calls were placed and Ken Lam was the first officer to arrive on scene. The officer U-turned in the street in hopes of intercepting the van, but before Officer Lam was able to do so, Manassian stopped. The officer immediately climbed from his vehicle, gun drawn. Manassian had done the same, pulling a dark-colored object from his person. The officer retreated, readying himself for an exchange of bullets in the roadway. Manassian was seen drawing the object repeatedly, yelling for the officer to shoot him in the head. However, Officer Lam soon realized that Manassian did not have a gun, but instead was holding his wallet. The officer holstered his firearm and chose to use a form of non-lethal weapon to subdue Manassian. This tactic worked and Manassian was apprehended without anyone getting hurt.
Absolutely. Madam Justice Anne Malloy rejected the defense argument that Alec Manassian was not criminally responsible, finding that not only did he know legally what he was doing was wrong, but also that he morally knew what he was doing was wrong, finding him guilty of 10 counts of first-degree murder and guilty of 16 counts of attempted murder. Now, Malloy spoke to exactly what happened that day. She refused to name Manassian in her judgment, only referring to him as John Doe, saying that she was acutely aware media coverage is exactly what he sought from the start. Malloy said that while she accepted that autism spectrum disorder is a mental illness within the section of the criminal code that deals with the not criminally responsible defense, she said Manassian chose to run down innocent people that day. She said he planned the attack, showed no remorse nor empathy for his actions, and knew that his plan constituted first-degree murder, which is why his plan was to die by cop that day.
On June 13th, 2022, Alec Manassian was found guilty for 10 counts of first-degree murder and 16 counts of attempted murder. The number of deaths that occurred during this incident rose during the trial to 11, but it